Right now we're working on the B2 clutch assembly. This drum lives in the back of the case, and we're going to disassemble the frictions out of it right now. Got the snap ring out. We're going to pull the clutch pack out all at one time. Let's set the pressure plate aside because I want to show you that this drum, unlike the other drums we've worked on, has a two-sided friction plate. That is, both sides have friction material. And because it has friction material on both sides of the plate, it has to have a steel plate in between the friction plates. So you can see how it's stacked up. Every other plate is a steel plate. The final plate being a tooth, has teeth all the way around the outside of it, but it's a steel plate that sits against the spring, cushion spring. This is a dish spring like the others, and the dish faces down. We got our frictions out of the drum now. There's one more step that we need to take before we disassemble the piston out of the housing. Because this piston is aligned a certain way with the holes in the drum down in the case, it's very important that you make alignment marks. I used a punch here to align the piston so it comes back together correctly. We've used our suitable press to take the retaining snap ring out of the drum. So we can set the spring aside. Here's our spring retainer. And now the return spring. This is a Belleville spring. Just as the other one, the teeth face up. Now let's pull the piston out of the drum. And there's another piece down inside. We pull the inner part of the piston out as well. One last seal down inside the drum. That we're going to pull up and out of there. The last step in the disassembly of this clutch drum is to separate the piston from the support itself. This is the part that actually bolts into the transmission case. Now it should be fairly easy to push out here. Now I've started it enough where I can get a screwdriver in here and twist the housing apart. With the twisting motion, we're just going to shoot that right on out of there. Now, if the seals are hard on the piston, this might be a little bit easier of a project, but as you can see, this is because the seals are quite fresh. Now we're ready to take the seals off the pistons. And the B2 is completely disassembled and ready for cleaning and inspection. Okay, we've got all our B2 components cleaned up and laid out here on the bench. The important part that we want to inspect is right here. This is the rear support for the case. This is the piston support, the drum support for the case. And what we want to look at is down in this bore right here. This is where the sealing rings for the output shaft ride. If there's any grooving or scratching in here, this part needs to be replaced. So let's set right to putting our piston together. I've got some new sealing rings for the piston. These are D-rings. We'll put these together, assemble them onto the pistons. We're going to lube them up. Now we're going to find our alignment mark here. And our alignment mark here. And we're going to press the drum down into the housing. Perfect. Our alignment marks are perfectly aligned. Okay, we've installed the drum down onto the support. Next, we're going to put the inner O-ring down onto support. This seals the B2 inner piston. Speaking of, we have the B2 inner piston right here. We're going to put the seal on the outer D-ring seal. We're going to lubricate inside. We're going to lubricate outside, and we're going to install this down onto the support. Fits right on down there. Next, we're going to put the new D-ring on the B2 piston. And lube it up, both inside and out, and set it down into the piston. There we go. Here at bottom out. Going to put our return spring down in there. Our snap ring retainer. And then we're going to go over to the press and install the retaining snap ring. We've got our retaining snap ring installed. Now it's time to install our clutches and steel plates. This one, as with the other plates, faces with the dish down. Remember, the inside of the dish, the inside of the lip of the steel is facing away. There, the inside edge is touching the steel plates, so we're going to put the dish down. Now remember, our frictions have been soaking for 10 minutes in fresh ATF. The steel plate goes down first, a friction disc, and then we're going to alternate steel plate, friction, steel plate, friction until we get to the pressure plate. Just drop those down into the drum. Install the pressure plate. Then the snap ring. We've installed our selective thickness snap ring. Now we're going to check with our feeler gauge. Depending on clutch clearance should be about 1.5 to 2.20 millimeters. And that completes the assembly of the B2 clutch drum.